Over the last 12 months, one of the big trends around cloud is the fact that actually it's arrived for mainstream within organisations. So we actually find now that if you look at, say for example, the US, 80% of organisations are actually consumers of public cloud services. Those levels might not be quite as high in the UK, but the trend is the same and going in the same direction. So that really has moved us on from where we were 12, 18 months ago, where a majority of organisations were interested in experimenting. Now they're actually embedded in organisations and they're delivering value. The other key thing that's happened is that some of the boundaries then are starting to blur, especially in the areas of managed infrastructure. So customers are not just looking simply for, can I buy a cloud infrastructure service or can I buy a traditional managed service, but actually they want to know how they're going to get choice in the consumption of those services, how they're going to put them together, how they're going to make them work and get the best value of the different features of each of those different types of ways of providing infrastructure. Some of the key trends in 2014 have been a way that cloud has actually driven the agenda for innovation within the marketplace. Over 85% of software development now happens targeted at cloud as a platform rather than traditional software development. And that means we've seen this key trend through the last year of cloud being driven not just through cost efficiency as the means that people come to cloud services, but actually instead looking for it as the basis for agility and innovation within their business. The ability to actually be able to do more with their business for their customers and actually make greater customer experience, to allow them to explore new business models with their customers that make them more competitive, and to just generally move that agenda on. The biggest revenue driver going into 2014, from an absolute term, is going to continue to be infrastructure as a service. The trend and change there is increasingly more of that revenue is going to private cloud as organisations consume public cloud, but they want to augment it by taking their mainstream workloads into cloud platforms and finding private cloud as being a more appropriate platform for some of those. But in terms of a kind of percentage growth, what's actually the hot things that are really pulling through, but from a kind of lower base, I think platform as a service is really going to take off in 2014. That ability to be able to put new support for new business processes together really quickly is something that CIOs are really looking for. Most of the cloud trends are not specific to the UK. We're seeing these changes happening across different geographies. So we see the US being leading the market and them driving exactly where things are going most quickly. We see continental Europe perhaps being a bit slower, having greater reservations about some of their geographical boundaries and data residency. And the UK generally sits in the market between that position that we see leading the way in the US and a kind of slightly slower uptake from Europe. That gives UK a really great place to be able to actually learn from what's happening in the US, but also drive that competitive advantage because it's ahead of some of our key markets. So the key trend we see in 2014 is the move from cloud solutions being point solutions to actually being solutions that span the organisation. And therefore there are three things that are important. Firstly, cloud management. Secondly, cloud integration. And thirdly, cloud aggregation. The first of those, cloud aggregation, means the ability to take cloud services from a range of different providers into the organisation in a seamless way, whether they're from Fujitsu or from other third parties. Second of those, cloud integration, means to take those services that you brought in together, to integrate them together and to build out support for broader business services. And thirdly, but perhaps most importantly, the ability to do cloud management, the ability to monitor those systems across the organisation, to integrate them seamlessly into your service management, to deliver the provisioning, the billing and things like the single sign-on that make them approachable to the business.